And we're live.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Building Your Wellness Brand Within Your Community. I'm Dr. Alan Weinstein with my co-host, Dr. Randi Ross. We have a great show for you today. Today's episode is brought to you by Epic Consulting, making sure your electronic presence is all it needs to be. And Community Wellness Day. Every great opportunity begins with the first step. Take that step with Community Wellness Day. And The System, the official marketing program of healthcare professionals everywhere. And, of course, the VIP app, the only application that allows you to bring your live hangouts, just like this one, to the desktop, iPhones, iPads, Samsung devices, you name it. Our apps are so good, people are going to want to lick them. And, of course, the newly released Google Plus in 10 minutes, literally a step-by-step guide for all things Google for your business. Today, we have a special guest, Dr. Nathalie Beauchamp, and we're going to talk about how to become better known in your community using events, media, and technologies. Let me take a minute to tell you about Dr. Beauchamp. Number one, she's an Ottawa-based chiropractor, a local TV personality. She's co-author of the book Wellness on the Go, Take the Plunge, It's Your Life. She's the founder of the annual Ottawa Health and Wellness Expo, which is a community-based event that gathers over 2,000 people each year. She is the W3 Ottawa Conference, Women, Wisdom, and Wellness. Well, you can understand why I didn't know much about it. Just the first word, women. That excluded me right off the bat. Anyway, she is also the founder of the About Real Health Chiropractic Grassroots Movement, which mission is to bring chiropractic to the masses. I personally know Dr. Beauchamp. She is one of what I consider one of the superstars, not only in the healthcare world, but as a person. And she is one of the few people that gets up as early as I do in the morning. With that said, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Randi.
Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again for another great hangout. And we do have a great guest that listen closely. Get your pens and pads out because you're going to want to take some notes and get some great tips. You know, one of the things that I love about Dr. Nathalie is she really does a lot of the things that we talk about and we teach about integrating yourself into the community, being a part of the community, hosting events, and how important that is to really broadening your success in any community. So we're not going to waste any more time, and I am going to bring Dr. Nathalie on, and we're going to pick her brain a little bit. Hey, Nathalie, thank you so much for taking time to be here with us today.
It's a pleasure, guys. And Dr. Allen, you heard the quote, early to bed, early to rise, work like hell and advertise, right?
Exactly, except we're using early to bed, late to bed, early to rise. That's the program I'm on.
Yeah. So first of all, let me apologize for not having a lower third today. This is one of these quirky Google days that it will not allow me to load my lower third no matter how many times I tried, no matter how many ways I tried. So I'm sure all of you know who I am, but I said I feel a little naked without my lower third. For those of you that are watching us, you see comment boxes below. Let us know where you're hanging out from. Put some comments in or questions. If we don't get to them during the hangout, we'll make sure to get back to you afterwards and get your questions answered. That's one of our promises to you. So one of the things that I really want to have Dr. Nathalie explain to all of our listeners, and a lot of them are health practitioners, some aren't. We're really broadening, you know, who our viewers are. Now, I want you to explain why you think it's so important to host community events.
Well, I think I love to say that I live and play in my community, work and play, sorry, and in the community. I think it's very important because if you are really involved within the community, people see you not just as a business owner, but they see your involvement and so forth. So to me, organizing event is almost a must if you want to get out there. And just as an example, when I started with my Ottawa Health and Wellness Expo, actually this year is going to be our 9th year, and I remember knocking on doors and asking people if it wanted to get involved and so forth. And it was funny because I was knocking on doors of people to come and participate as exhibitors, and they were asking me, how many people are you expecting? And I would say, I don't know. And same thing for how many attendees I was expecting. And it just grew and grew and grew. So I think when you give back to the community in terms of your time and your effort to bring, you know, whatever you believe in forward and make it grow, I think it's very valuable, and it's a good way to create relationship with the media as well. I was fortunate enough in the last several years to do, oh my goodness, I cannot tell you how many segments, live segments I've done on both local and community TV, and there's no way I would have gotten those relationships if it wasn't for me to putting myself out there doing those events. So I think you can't buy the relationship that you are building when you create events or when you do things inside of your own community.
Well, I hope everybody caught that, because that's the gold right there in the first 2 minutes of our interview. It's about, you can't build relationships any other way, and kind of a follow-up that I'll get to in a second, Natalie, is, you know, people really understanding the difference in the outcomes that you get when you host an event like you do as opposed to participating in other people's events. You can't build the kind of relationships that you build hosting an event any other way. Would you agree with that? And I know you do a lot of the technology-driven and social media. I know that's an important part, but would you agree that the important relationships you build, like you even mentioned the media, you can't do that online?
Oh, exactly. And I find, I don't know if you've noticed that too, Randi, but it's kind of like we're coming full circle. And I give the example of retail. You know, the big box stores are, you know, were very popular and so forth. And I see that in my community. It's like we have two main roads in my community, and one is the old, you know, where the mom and pop shops are, and the other one is the big box store. And I think people are tired of having no service and no relationship with the big box store. They're kind of coming back to the mom and pop shop. And I think, you know, if you have a good relationship with your patients or client, depending what kind of business you have, I think people are craving that now. They're craving a person that really genuinely cares. So I think that's one of the big change I've seen, because I've been in practice for 18 years, and it's kind of that full circle, because people want, you know, I always tell my staff, it's like Cheers, where everybody knows your name, and it's so important, and you create much stronger relationship, I find, that way.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I actually read something really interesting just this morning from someone that works with assisted living centers, and he said people don't remember what you say, they remember how you make them feel.
Yeah, I heard that one.
And I was like, whoa, that just like so blew me out of the water that someone said that so eloquently, so in such a few amount of words. But you know, I think it's really important, and I agree with you, that everybody recognizes, as much as we're in an electronic kind of society, that I say mimic what you say. I think that people are actually craving the, you know, I'll go as far to use the word as intimate relationships as a way that we used to do business, you know, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And as much as we're all into instant gratification, and we don't go anywhere without our phones, and we get emails all the time, or, you know, we see our Facebook up there, whatever it is, we all really miss, you know, being eyeball to eyeball with someone, or knee to knee, and building a relationship. We're so disconnected as a society that I think the ones that recognize the value in getting out there and doing like what you said, knocking on doors and saying, hey, I'm hosting this event for our community, we'd love to have you there, and not being attached to the outcome, just knowing that the outcome's going to be better than if you didn't do it. And,
Yes.
and I think that's so important for people, you know, to recognize. Not that I don't want you to continue to participate in other events, but nothing replaces the dynamic as you being the host. I mean, we say with Community Wellness Day that you're literally like a rock star for the day, because everybody wants to know who you are. Like you just said, it's kind of like Cheers.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question, because, you know, you're a very successful practitioner in what some might think is a even more challenging environment than we face here in the U.S. because of the health structure that you're in. And what do you think are the 3 obstacles that business people and health providers face today that keeps them from achieving the level of success that they would like to have?
I would say, you know, lack of clarity, or poor mission, vision, and value statement, and even the culture. So I think as business owner, we have to set the tone for the culture. And I know that it's very important to me for my team and for my patient, because as I think sometimes that people don't take the time to create that, and you end up with a default as a structure or a culture in your business. And again, it's all about relationships. So if you don't have the clarity or even the leadership to guide your team or your staff to what kind of business, what kind of philosophy, what kind of approach, even if it's outside of the chiropractic world, I think this really applies. And the second thing I would say would be poor system. I know myself, actually took a business coaching training. I'm certified business coach now, and I learned so much, and I did that for that purpose. I am coaching a little bit, but I don't have much time for it. But I put my own business and practice through the scrutiny to build those systems, and I realized that there was some areas in my practice that I didn't have systems. I didn't have anything that could be reproduced. And being a small business, I think the HR department really gets minimized. Exit strategy reviews and staff reviews and contracts and all these things that bigger corporations have, we don't necessarily take the time to have. So systemizing my entire clinic in 8 categories and really building on these 8 categories, just like if I was a big corporation, was such a huge exercise for me. And now that I've created those systems, it really gives me freedom. And when I have to hire new staff, I'm not as nervous about it, and I've leveraged the heck out of everything that I've built so far, so it becomes less painful. So I think sometimes some businesses just didn't take the time to create system. Sometimes we have the excuse that we don't have time, but if we don't have time, we're not going to take the time, and it's going to come back to costing us more time. And then the third component I would say would be poor staff training. And I think, again, I go back to the culture, but if we're not training our staff or team to follow the system, follow the procedure, follow the steps, you can't be consistent in what you're delivering. And again, if we want to have referral from our patients, they need to be sure that if they refer their brother, sister, or friends, that they're going to get the same great, excuse the pun here, but treatment in the office that they will be, they are receiving. So I think we have to make it so that our patients are going to be so sure that there's no way that their friends and family won't get cared the way that they are, because they see it, across the border, that this is the kind of approach and service that we're giving. And also, too, I think it's important to stand out, not to be like everybody else. I was just listening to Dan Kennedy CD audio in the car on my way home here, and he was just saying how a lot of time people are afraid to stand out, to be different, and you're either judged on your price or if you're not different, so they're going to go for the cheaper. So I think it's important to really over deliver and make sure that you're unique and you're bringing a different service to a certain extent, or really bring values that is above what people are expecting.
Yeah,
that was a long answer.
Yeah, no, that's okay. And what I took away from what you said, the one that really stood out for me was your third point, and for me, that's people trusting you. And I think that's we keep coming back to the relationships, whether it's within your office or those with leaders in your community that help build your business because of your awareness of what you do. It's all about trust, and that takes time, and it's not instant. I think that that's so important, because that's a huge disconnect for a lot of people. They think when they do something and they don't get that instant result, or they don't get the magnitude of their outcome that they were looking for, whether it's being at an event and them saying, well, they only got this amount of new patients or this amount of new business, and they don't realize, well, did you collect the other 200 going to jump in? And there's so many ways to really maximize those efforts. I think that's where maybe again it comes back to our culture and our society is in instant gratification. We don't realize that you got to put a little work in sometimes to get the outcomes you're looking for. So, Dr. Allen, I see you back. I know that means you want to say something.
Right. Well,
Wait, can I just ask one thing? Is it going to be a question about our topic, or are we going to talk about like snakes in the Adirondacks or something?
Well, it could be anything at this particular point. So, wherever direction we go, and just jump on it as if it was meant to be. So, with that said, one of the things that I've noticed, and I'm sure both of you have, and this is something especially for a small business that you need to pay attention to. People make an assumption if it's a big box retailer or it's a huge company that your competition is, the fact that they are big means that they don't do the right things that service-wise or otherwise that you think that they should do. And it's really quite the opposite. In other words, we see now that if we take a look at, I'll just use this as an example, The Joint, which is now a 300 franchise-strong chiropractic clinic, of which there will be 1,000 next year. When you go to their websites are better than most chiropractic websites that you see. They have a blog that every week that blog is updated. They have all their social media stuff right on target. They sell the same concepts that an individual chiropractor in this case, talking about that, would sell. And so the small doctor or the small business thinks, well, the advantage I have is the service that I offer, but that's no longer your advantage. And as a consequence of that, if you try to go up against them from a price standpoint, then you're going to lose because they're going to beat the pants off you. But more importantly, and what Dr. Nathalie said that to me is the most important thing that's been said so far, is you have to dare to be different. In other words, if they're doing a blog every week, you need to do a video blog every week. If they're using, content that is, repetitive and it's all the same on every website, you have to make sure that your content is not duplicated from somewhere else. You can't have a website that has the same content as every other chiropractor because you buy one of these websites that everyone's the same. And they also have tools that we don't have. For example, one of the things you see, and I watched this show where how supermarkets now literally know, based on your credit card or what you buy, and this was started by Amazon, they literally know your entire buying habits, so that if you get online and they send you an email of items that are on sale in their store, that's not the same items they send me. That's yours based on your shopping habits. And so they have the skills to do that as individual practitioners you don't have. So the key to the thing is, again, is you must dare to be different, because if not, you're going to get swallowed, chewed up, spit out, and have nothing left for your business. So don't make any assumptions about what you're doing that someone else is not doing. Study the competition and then beat them at their own game.
And that's so important, Dr. Allen, that we have to make sure that we're not just hitting the status quo, and I think Dr. Nathalie is a great example of that. And one of the things I want you to come back to, Nathalie, is talk about how I'm going to kind of combine two things. One is how some of the relationships, especially the media that you were able to access, and you've become an integral part of the media in your community as an expert on health and wellness, how that was those opportunities were created for you by hosting an event, as well as how you use social media and some of the technologies that you use to enhance what you already do. But here's the big but. But I think it's important for you to kind of touch on that. Hosting events in your community, the relationships that you built, the media coverage that you get, elevates your credibility, so that gives you even more recognition on social media, where that's something that a lot of people don't get. A lot of people are posting and doing this and doing that, but if they don't have the community credibility, they may not be viewed as much. So I know there's a kind of few questions in there all wrapped up, but go for it.
And it's the best compliment that I can hear from people is, Nathalie, you're everywhere, and I love to hear that. I'm not everywhere, but it appears that I am. So I know that my marketing is good when my online presence is good, and my positioning with the media as well. And also too is, you know, Dr. Allen and I have had multiple discussion on that, but the public perception of chiropractor, and oftentimes the topics that I'm covering are not chiropractic related. But it just, I think, allows people in the community to say, oh, she makes sense. Oh, and she's a chiropractor. Because there's still people that just think, you know, we won't get into the perception of the profession, but you know as well as I do that sometimes people just have a certain perception of what we do. So to me, being able to talk about any health issues or anything, actually my last segment, I couldn't believe it. They asked me to go on CTV Ottawa live breakfast television to talk about the color of pee. And I'm like, okay. So, but guess what? I said yes because, you know, it's exposure, and my patients all day, oh, Nellie, I saw you on TV this morning. And it's just, even sometimes I do, you know, I speak two languages, French and English, and I do both French or English TV, and sometimes it's English people that are flickering through the channels, still seeing me, not understanding what I'm talking about, but you can't buy that kind of exposure. So you have to put yourself out there. And the other thing, too, is you have to give the information to the media. I've contacted them a few times. Hey, how about this? Have you heard of this? I'd love to do a segment on this. I mean, they're looking for content. They love it when you bring stuff forward. I've been doing twice a month one of the local show, and for 4 years now. So count the amount of segments that it is. It's a lot. And every week I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to talk about? And somehow for the past 4 years, every 2 weeks I found something to talk about. And it also keeps me on my toes of reading, you know, what's out there, and then bringing my opinion, bringing the chiropractic opinion on it, or the chiropractic lifestyle kind of opinion on it. So again, by doing this, I'm giving the spin that I think, you know, is positive for chiropractic.
Well, in a certain way, not that you wouldn't be, but it kind of keeps you relevant to having you always in the community present, and in different ways, and I think that's important too. You know, you host events, they see you on TV, they see your other marketing and advertising, they have access to your information, and I think one of the things that I think that you do as a genius is that you have information for everyone. In other words, it doesn't matter where they fall in the demographic or their interest line, there's going to be something that you have to offer them as a way to make that connection and build that element of trust, so when they're thinking of services, you know, you're definitely the one that they come back to. Talk a little bit about how you use technology and social media to really, you know, enhance and build upon this credibility that you have in the community.
Well, as Dr. Allen said, I guess 2 years ago, I scrapped my website completely, and I said, okay, let's start. Well, actually, I rebranded, so that was a good time to do it. But we faithfully blog every week, and it's new content. It's pure content that's written by me or my team or something that we do, like, faithfully. We've been doing a newsletter for our patients for, God, 5 or 6 years. We're using the app. I use Infusionsoft as my delivery platform. So as soon as I have patients that sign up under care, they're put in an education campaign. So I have videos every 3 or 4 days that are sent to them, or every week. It depends on the frequency. So I guess that a while back I hired a videographer for 1 day, and we shot 25 video in 1 day. Not recommended to do that much in 1 day, but you know what? We just got it done. And I do some on a regular basis, but that was, easy to do. And now I talk about pillows. I talk about which bed to choose. All the questions that our patients are asking us anyway. So I leverage my time and myself with technology, so patients are no longer asking those questions because they just received my video about it. So it's great added value for them, and it's increasing other sales that I might have in the office when it comes to supplements and all of that stuff. So I'm all about campaigns. I'm all about creating something once, and I don't have to do it again and leveraging. So having Infusionsoft as a platform, I mean, there's different programs, obviously, out there, or content and contact management software, but just leverage and think of recreating and leveraging something so you don't have to do it over and over again.
Dr. Allen, I see you unmuted.
Yeah, I wanted to say one thing because I think this is real important, and I think that Dr. Nathalie really represents the only way to be, the only way to go, and here's the reason why. There are so many people, and this show that Dr. Randi and I do every week for the last couple of years is another example of having an independent approach to your marketing and your business. Here's the thing you need to realize. If someone is trying to sell you something for your business, let's say some type of marketing, like they're selling you Facebook or social media is the way to build your business, and yet when they're communicating with you, they're sending you videos, but they're not selling you that, well, you got to have your BS meter up there and say, wait a second, they're convincing me that all I need to be is on Facebook, but they send me a video 3 times a week when they try to communicate with me. Or someone says, we're going to do everything for you automatically. Sign up now, we're automatically going to post for you on the social media networks, we're automatically going to put something on your website. Well, the BS meter should go up, and the reason for that is that you cannot differentiate yourself from the masses with the exact same content in the exact same places. And in fact, if you listened last week, which I did and I recorded it, to Facebook had their earnings call, and on the earnings call, Mark said that only 10% of everything you paste in Facebook will ever get to your audience. There are 1,500 things the average person posts. Only 100 of those do they let through. And if any of your stuff is duplicate, a post that's been duplicated on your Facebook business page and some other business and some other people in the same niche, or another 100 people in the same niche, you have a guarantee no one's ever going to see that. If someone sells you an image about your niche and 1,000 people buy those same images and post them every week, guess what? Nobody sees those, and yet those people keep selling you things. So what Dr. Nathalie does is the only way to fly. You have to do it yourself. There's no more done for you. Years ago, there used to be services that would post for you, and no one was hip to it. Everyone posted the same stuff, and it was just the fact that you were posting was good. But those days are long over. Do not be conned into believing you could sign up for a service that's going to build your business. It's total nonsense in this day and age.
And I think you're completely right. And I think we go back to relationships. So it's one thing to post something on any social media, but you need to interact. You need to show interest. You need to engage. Otherwise, it's just, it's just going out. So just give you an example. Sunday, I hate wasting old bananas, so I decided to make healthy muffins. And people that know me, I do not like cooking. I eat well, but it's just not something. So I took the picture of the pile of muffins, and I wrote on my Facebook, I said, mark the date I baked. And I think I got 100 comments like, oh my God, has hell freezed over? Is it a full moon? Anyway, we had so much fun just with that comment. So I think sometime to create engagement, you might as well go at it more on a fun or personal, something about you, than just posting straight content. Content is important with and when I say content is important, talking about blog, obviously it is, but with social media, I think you need to use it to engage with people, whatever it is, and have your personality shine through and be different. So I'm not going to pretend that I'm going to be writing the next cookbook. Hell will really be freezing over before I write a cookbook. So I'm going to play on this. This is who I am, and it is what it is.
Well, go ahead, Al.
I was just going to say, my most engaged comments on Facebook, where I had the most people sharing it, was when my dog died.
Oh.
And I had said that I had a dog that was 15 years old. We had to put her to sleep, after 15 years. And I never would post things like that, but my wife actually posted it. And then I made a comment about it because we were very sad about it. And I will tell you, that thing was shared. We had more likes. I mean, every day I woke up and there was someone new posting about, my dog and, saying how sorry they were. It was unbelievable. So you're absolutely right. You have to show your human side about some things also.
And that's where I think we constantly come back to the need for the relationships and the trust in your community. It's going to make even all of your social media activity much more engaging. The fact that Dr. Nathalie got that kind of comment about, baking some banana muffins was because people know her, trust her, and like her. They even know so much about her that they know she doesn't cook, so that was kind of like a milestone. I mean, it's probably like a new Canadian holiday that the day that you made muffins. So you're going to have to make that an annual thing. There you go. But as we start to close out here, kind of bring us full circle and talk about hosting events in your community, and you host more than one, which I love. I try and get people to do all the time. Not many will, and the importance of that, but maybe even more than that, what do you think the first steps are that people could take to start getting that same level of community engagement, community trust, and credibility that you've acquired over the years?
Well, I think you have to go with your interest as well. So, I mean, if you're a healthcare practitioner and you love running, so maybe your event is to start a race in your community. If you like yoga, maybe you start teaching some classes, or do a yogathon or something. I think it's important you do it with something you love. I know I have different friends who have different interests when it comes to sports or whatever. So, pick what you love, pick what resonates with you. And for me, the Expo, and I organize a women's event as well, is that it kind of brings back my two passion, health, and then I'm a big fan of small businesses and entrepreneurs. And with the Expo, we have over 100 exhibitors, and it really gives the small mom and pop shop a platform to show people their product or services and so forth. So it's kind of the best out of both worlds. I really feel that I'm making a difference in the community from a business point of view. We've had people that are coming every year and they're looking forward to it because they don't have maybe a storefront. And then we have the health aspect. And for the Expo, why I started that actually was I was at a different trade show, and it was supposedly a health and wellness expo of some kind, and I was beside a booth who were selling Botox injection. And I'm like, wow, this is not my definition of health and wellness, so let's start something where it's going to be congruent. So, the slogan is be fit, eat right, think well, and go green. So we've got those components, and everybody needs to fall into that. And then for the women's event as well, a lot of women have small businesses of different things, so we make it a fun day, kind of a TED Talk kind of format with people and women in my community. So it gives them a platform. And I tell you, we've done it 3 years in a row, and the quality and the stories, because it's 8 women going on stage telling their story, is just amazing. So just that day is worth it for me, for all the energy that I get from the people that are there, and knowing that I'm making a difference. So I think the first thing to do is find your passion, find where there might be a need in your community, and just go out there. Now, I will not be lying to you and say this is easy, this is a walk in the park, and I do this with my eyes closed. It's not. My expo is in, the countdown is 57 days, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it's already coming. But I'm doing my best. I'm putting the platform there for people to do and showcase what they have, and help my community be healthier. Actually, the mission statement for the Expo is make Ottawa the healthiest city in Canada, is our catalyzing statement. So again, find your passion and just do it. And like you said earlier too, is don't be attached to the outcome. You know, I don't know how successful it's going to be this year, but you know what? I'm doing it, and you know, I know, like you said, that doing it is a heck of a lot better than not having any event in my community on that day.
Absolutely, and I think that's a perfect place for us to tie up. And we want to thank Dr. Nathalie, and what she said is so important, you know, to realize that, you know, your community needs these events. You really, you know, I've been to so many events where we do Community Wellness Day, I mean, hundreds of them. And, you know, there's kind of always this moment where you see someone really getting information that's going to have a huge impact on their life, for themselves or their families. And, you know, my daughter always teases me about this time when she was like 6 years old, and we were kind of like standing on a hill of an outdoor event looking down, and like I was brought to tears, and that's not my personality. And she's like, "Mom, what's the matter?" And I said, "Do you realize, like, we're going to like save somebody's life today?" And when you look at it that way, yes, there's the business component you always hear me talk about, because that's what I do. I want you to be successful and happy. But, you know, the end result of that is we're giving people tools and resources and just a different thought process for a lot of people of things they're never exposed to. So, you know, I applaud Dr. Nathalie for what she does, for figuring that out on her own, because I can tell you it's not easy. And, you know, without having a shameless plug here, this is where I would say, for those of you that don't want to figure it out, that you want to have a turnkey system that can allow you to achieve a community event. That's what we do. We spent the last decade figuring out what works, what doesn't work, and changing it all the time, because what works 5 years ago might not work anymore. We're always adding things. Technology is amazing. You know, I'm exposed to such wonderful things, and we always share new ways for you to have a bigger impact and reach more people. But it all comes down to building relationships. I teach what I call relationship marketing, because I strongly believe in my heart, Nathalie talks about your passion and what you believe. I believe the only way to successfully build a small business is to have relationships that last the life of your career. And that's something that doesn't care what kind of economic environment you're in, what kind of healthcare environment you're in. If you're here in the States and you're worrying about Obamacare, if you're in Canada, I know they have their own issues, or you're in Australia, which has its own issue. They deal with people all over the place, so I hear everybody's, you know, little gripes all the time. Having relationships and having people trust you and having yourself positioned in the community and building your credibility, nobody ever takes away from you. So anyone that's interested, please reach out, and we would love to chat with you about how we can help you reach your goals. Well, I want to thank Dr. Nathalie for being here. I'm going to throw it back to Dr. Allen to close us out.
Okay, you've been listening to Building Your Wellness Brand Within the Community. Today's episode was brought to you by Epic Consulting, making sure your electronic presence is all it needs to be. Community Wellness Day. Every great opportunity begins with the first step. Take that step with Community Wellness Day. The System, the official marketing program of healthcare practitioners everywhere. The VIP app, the only application that allows you to bring your live hangouts just like this one to the desktop, iPhones, iPads, and Samsung devices. On behalf of myself, Dr. Alan Weinstein, my co-host, Dr. Randi Ross, and our great guest, Dr. Nathalie Beauchamp, we'll see you again next week.
Bye, everyone.